How unrealistic would it be to make a queue with toxic people? I mean, it's not unrealistic. We could find people's honor scores or toxicity scores and put them all together. I don't know if Prisoner's Island is the way to deal with toxicity, however. I'm not a toxicity player behavior specialist, but I don't know if putting all the people who are jerks with each other and creating a circle of awful is the way to get people to stop treating each other poorly. But again, I'm not really up to date on that kind of stuff. Okay, we wore the cat ears for a while. Sorry, that reward is not all stream. Why is KAYLE being a high win rate in mid a bad thing for the game? 2 reasons. One is there's a win rate we're not willing to accept on any character in any role. That's just a thing. I personally am a little suspect of that, but it's like, hey, sorry, you're just not allowed to be 54 anywhere. So that's part of it. The other problem, though, then is like, well, hey, then why do you like constantly nerf her out of mid? Is it doesn't make a lot of sense to support a character being strongest in a role very few people play them in. And so the biggest problem with KAYLE Mid, if we go look up KAYLE, is that despite it being a strong role for her at various times, it is comparatively very unpopular. KAYLE Mid, as an example, right now is winning 53% of her games. KAYLE Top is winning 52%, and KAYLE Top is like meaningfully more popular than KAYLE Mid. And this has like always been the case. And so whenever KAYLE shows up mid, there's definitely metas where she's strong, but she just doesn't seem to be a character that mid laners are interested in playing. And so you have this problem where it really sucks when you have to nerf a character for a role they aren't played in by their mains. Pyke has a similar problem, Pyke mid compared to Pyke support. Seraphine has a similar issue. Seraphine AP carry compared to Seraphine support. It's like Seraphine AP carry, pretty strong. Seraphine support a lot weaker and has always been her most popular role. And so it's an issue of what do you do when a character is OP and needs to be nerfed for a role that has significantly less players than their main role. It's a pretty feels bad situation to be in if you're a main of that champion. Well, we're looking at KAYLE. I actually want to go look at her build really quick. See if her build's been shifting. Nashor's death cap seems about right. You can still build Kraken and Bork if you want to on her. Ginsu's is an option. Shadow Flame. Curdle who strikes enemies below 35%. Okay, so that's like a 20% damage increase on her E with raw AP. Rylai's, Lichbane. Yeah, I don't know. Looks like the character's still building Nashor's into death cap, which is like kind of what she was designed to do. If there's anything here that feels maybe a bit off, it's maybe Ginsu should be more popular on her. Although I don't know if like KAYLE can actually play with Ginsu's. So I think one thing that's maybe missing for this KAYLE, like very real, is that I think Riftmaker losing Omnivamp is a really, really big deal. And it's probably one of the reasons you don't see her going Ginsu's and Riftmaker as much. Is Omnivamp, ever since the rework, we're talking since day one of the rework, because remember she used to have Gunblade, Omnivamp is a very important stat for AP auto attackers. There's a reason like we allow AD carries to have lifesteal, and it's to make it so like they have a bit of resilience to like getting poked out, which then supports the fact that they're like trying to repeatedly auto attack. And so I'd say one of the reasons I would guess that KAYLE isn't going Ginsu's as much actually, even though it still seems, you know, somewhat viable on her, is the fact that, like, if you really, really go hard into auto-attacking, you won't be able to heal. You won't be resilient. Her W has terrible base. It's all AP ratio. And she used to be able to be fine because she had Riftmaker. Riftmaker was the item that enabled that entire thing to work. And now that Riftmaker no longer has Omnivamp, and now that Gunblade no longer exists, the only way KAYLE can heal and fill out that healing part of her attacking pattern, which is generally, I think, a pretty important part for AD carry-like characters, is she either needs to go into AD, so like things like Kraken Ginsu's Blade of the Ruin King, or she needs to go really hard into AP, so her W starts doing the work that Lifesteal would normally do if she was an AD carry. I would say maybe that's some of the thing that's going on there. That said, she is designed to build a lot of AP. Like, Nashor's plus AP, I think, is a fine build on KAYLE. That's what she was made to do. Oh yeah, the other thing that's probably going on with KAYLE too is that no lethal tempo probably just means she feels like she attacks a lot slower because she literally has less attack speed, right? I didn't consider that, actually. Historically, she'd go Gunblade, Ginsu's, and Nashor's, and that's 2 attack speed items. And now she's actually down an attack speed item because there's no lethal tempo. Yeah, I do wonder if that's hurting her feel as an auto attacker, even if she's still building similar items to what she's done before. What's going on with high elo matchmaking in red versus blue side? It seems like there's something pretty off about it. That's all I can say. I'll say I don't know the details. And if there is something off, it should definitely be fixed. But I'm not the one to do it, and I don't know the details. I do know one thing, and that is, historically, there's been a side imbalance in League of Legends. This has been true for literally forever. Like, it's not like a new thing. It's just because of how camera angles work and whatnot, there's always been somewhat of a side imbalance in League of Legends. And so, because of that, historically, matchmaking accounts for some degree of that side imbalance in certain ways. And so I wonder if there's something to do with that that's breaking down. All that said, I don't know the details and I can't really speak to it. But if it's happening and if there's problems up there, I would say that I think it would be likely that the relevant parties do know about it and would be thinking about how to improve it. Isn't it possible to give both teams the same camera angle? No, it's not. It would require the map be redesigned. Because the map isn't designed to be flipped. That's the problem. So as an example, in Wild Rift, the Wild Rift map, in terms of how they made it visually, like art-wise, can be flipped. And so that allows Wild Rift to have, everybody play on bottom left. And so it would require a complete remake of the Summoner's Rift map to make it so the camera angle could be flipped. That's what it would need.